What's up, everybody? Welcome in to yet another SBR video. Very excited about this one. It's the college basketball preview. Now, look, I know we can't get to every team. We only got about 45 minutes, but I'm going to try to do my best to answer some questions, kind of give you some great information, to really get you prepared because it snuck up on us. College basketball is getting going in 6 days. 6 days from now, we'll be seeing some college basketball lines, and I don't think anyone could be more excited than me. I'm very happy about all the kind comments I've gotten about my college basketball. I worked hard on it last year. Hopefully, we can have an encore this year. I ask you to first hit the like button when you join. I'm the big man on campus. Let's get into it. Really, guys, going to base this around where you guys want to go with it. I'll take as many questions as I can. Try to give out as many and as much info as I can. As far as where I'm going to kind of go with this is really just kind of highlight some teams that I have my eye on as we head into the season. Listen, we all know who the top 15, 20 teams are. We all know that Duke is good, and we know that Kansas is good. We all know that. As far as futures and that kind of thing and finding value, I think you got to look a little bit elsewhere. And I'm going to try to find some of those teams, kind of highlight maybe some teams to keep your eye on as we head into the season, because at the end of the day, it's about covering numbers and who covers, who doesn't cover, who will be bad against the number. You look at last year, teams like Fordham, Oakland, they were some of the worst teams in the country against the spread. Will that change? Will they get better? We'll see. We'll also detail some conferences you want to look out for as far as totals are concerned and kind of how to bet those. So yeah, again, feel free to send in any questions you might have. If you're listening after the fact, welcome in. Thanks for checking me out. We'll try to do these on a regular basis, try to have some open dialogues with listeners and really kind of get your questions asked. Because at the end of the day, if I'm not answering a question you care about or want to talk about, it's not important. I'll try to provide the info that I have, though. Really kind of looking into things, though, and kind of going up at the top. We look at kind of the top 25 and where we're at. We know Kansas is going to be good. We know Kentucky coming back with a very good basketball team. Gonzaga, how are they going to deal with Killian Tilly being out for 8 weeks to begin the season? Duke with the new cohesion with their young players. Virginia, how will they handle the season last year? You had a great season. You won the league by 4 games, but then you lose in the first game to a 16 seed, UMBC. I think they have a big chip on their shoulder. They're one of my favorite teams as we head into the season. You really look at kind of this team as a whole, and I love this roster. I'm very high on this Virginia roster coming into the season. You look at their guard play, as always, going to be very good. Really with Ty Jerome, Kyle Guy. You look at Hunter as well, DeAndre Hunter. I think he's a guy that I think is going to be kind of a household name by the end of the season. This is a kid that has been compared defensively to Kawhi Leonard. This is a guy that I think is going to be a big Swiss Army knife for them as far as defensively. We all know what they do, and that's play defense. The thing is, can they get consistent scoring? And I love what they have at the guard position. They also brought in a kid named Braxton Key out of Oak Hill Academy, played at Alabama the last few years. He was a really nice player for Avery Johnson down at the Crimson Tide. He finished last season, averaged about 7 points a game, started 17 games, did have a knee injury, which kind of sidelined him a little bit. But this is a team, I think, with a big chip on their shoulder. I'm excited about Virginia. We know how good this team is defensively. I mean, we don't have to talk about how many 50-point games or less they had last season or how many, 60-point games. I don't think they allowed over 65 points in the regular season. They were that unreal, and they're really a treasure to watch on the defensive end. I mean, I know a lot of people don't like, kind of those boring 53, 49 type of games, but I mean, you have a team in Virginia that gave up 54 points a game last year. That's not going to stop. They're always a pronounced good defensive team. So, they're a team at like 15, 20 to 1 that I'm very interested in. When I was out in Vegas for the IPC, I actually took Virginia. So I'm quite high on this group as we head into the season, as far as not only getting to the tournament and doing well, but getting to that Final Four, doing some big things under Tony Bennett, because kind of under his tutelage, they haven't been able to do that. This is probably his best team. A couple questions here. Best overall future bet on the board at the moment. Look, I like Virginia. I really like this group. I think at the price, it's worth it. I think Tennessee's worth the look as well. Some of the bigger ones. Look, Kansas is the best team in the country. There's no question about it. They bring back, a terrific roster. I think as of week A is going to be the best big in the country this year. Can he be a Joel Embiid type of player? No, but I think he's a terrific rebounder. He'll be the best rebounder in the country. You look at the fact that, and again, we don't know when Sylvia DeSousa will play, if he plays, but you look at the rest of this roster. The Lawson brothers were terrific at Memphis. Charlie Moore comes over from Cal to be a nice depth player for them. They still have Mitch Lightfoot. They still have LeGerald Vick. They still have Devin Dotson. They bring him in as a freshman. They brought in Quentin Grimes, a freshman as well, from down in Texas. Marcus Garrett's still there. This is a terrific roster, a terrific program with a terrific home court advantage. Kansas should and will be the favorite to me to win this thing this year. They are, I think, about as close as you can get as a banger to get to the Final Four. I really like this group. They have a nice mix of veterans. I think the Lawson brothers are going to play a big part for this team. These are two kids from down in Memphis that were really good players for Tubby Smith over at Memphis. I like this group. I like these two coming in. And again, as of week, is going to be a load to stop down low. So yeah, I would probably say those few. Teams I'm going to follow this year is Buffalo and Syracuse. Love both of them. Buffalo win the MAC. I think Syracuse is a team that this might be one of the best Boeheim teams we've seen in a while. We already know they're very good defensive. We know that they're a very tough team to face up in the Dome. But you look at that star player. Do they have that kind of player? I think they do. I think Tyus Battle is terrific. And you look up and down this roster, there's some really good talent here. Pascal Chukwu, Marek Dolezaj, O'Shea Brissett, Howard Washington. This is a good basketball team. They have some nice shooters. I think a nice starting five. Some players off the bench that can, kind of give them something. And they play really good defense. They're a lot like my thoughts on Washington. I think both these teams can be very good surprises. I think Washington's a bit of a bigger surprise. I wouldn't be surprised if Washington wins the Pac-12. I think this is a bit of a down year in that conference. You look at Arizona, USC, UCLA, all somewhat down this year. They're not the favorite to me. The favorite's probably Oregon at the end of the day. I don't think anyone will argue, but I really like what this Washington team's doing. And I've talked about this in college football. I'm going to talk about it in college basketball. The way you win in college basketball, I'm going to tell you how you win. The right coach, the right hire, making the hire. And we look at Washington, just a Boeheim disciple here, and Mike Hopkins. He brings over this 2-3 defense, this zone. They were terrific. They were like a horse to water. They were terrific defensively last year. And that's one of the things largely in the Pac-12 that goes unnoticed is the fact that how good they are defensively. You look at this team coming in, I think Noah Dickerson is a kid that at the next level is going to be an elite basketball player. I think down the road with the size he has, with his ability to jump out of the gym, I love this kid. I like him a lot. I think he's going to be a household name towards the end of the season as well. And you look at who they bring back. You bring back David Crisp, a senior guard, Matthias Thibault, Jalen Newell. And Jalen Newell was actually a local product that stayed at Washington when Lorenzo Romar left. So they were able to retain him. They have some really young players that they can bring in as well. And to go along with Dickerson, 6'8", 245, terrific size, jumps out of the gym. I really, really, really like Washington. They're a team that, like Syracuse, I think is going to be a really nice opportunity in that Pac-12. What are your thoughts on the doubleheader on Tuesday? I have nothing on. I don't know the lines. Until we get the lines, we're not going to necessarily talk game to game. Duke will be a favorite in every game. I don't disagree. There are certain games where they won't be, though. How about Vandy to win the SEC? I don't think. I like where they're going, though. I think Vanderbilt is definitely on the right track. Here's what we have to remember about Vanderbilt last year. When you look at against the spread, they were one of the worst teams in the country. I mean, it didn't get much worse than Vanderbilt. This team was 8-21 to the number. They only covered 27.5% of the games that they played. I mean, just a wretched team against the number. And look, a lot of it had to do with the fact that for Vanderbilt, the problem was they didn't get better. They got worse over the course of 3 or 4 years. When you have a kid like Riley LeChance, Matthew Fisher-Davis, those type of players, they get progressively worse over their career. It's a lot to do with coaching. Kevin Stallings leaves. They made the right hire, but they still had those negative attitudes in the lineup that weren't great to begin with, and they suffered for it. They didn't play well last year. Bryce Drew is a better coach than what we saw last year, but you look at you look at what a coach can do for you. Bryce Drew has done what Kevin Stallings couldn't do in 3 or 4 years at Vandy. I mean, you look at this recruiting class. I mean, it's terrific. I mean, you get two top recruits in Darius Garland and Simi Shatu. You brought in Matt Ryan from Notre Dame, a kid that can play the 3 or the 4 for you. You still have Joe Toyu, who could play the guard for you. I really like this team. Saban Lee as well. I like Vandy. The problem with Vandy is this is a terrific conference. And unfortunately, there's just too many teams to kind of, wade through. But when I look at them and I say, where do I see them in this conference? Do I even to think that you asked, do I think they can win? No, no way. I mean, Tennessee is much better. Kentucky's way better. Auburn's way better. I think Florida's better than they are. I would probably say I'd probably rank them around 7th. And I think for them, that's fine. When you have that grand slam of recruiting class brought in, you're not going to win right away. It's going to take time. But do I think they're going to be way better against the number? Yeah, because they were 8-21 last year against the spread. They can't be any worse. They are going to have value, though, against the number game to game because they're not going to get respect. They're going to look at what they did last year. They're going to be a bit overvalued as far as or undervalued as far as setting these numbers a bit too high. So maybe a number that should be 12 is 15.5. You're going to have some home value with Vanderbilt because they're much more talented. They also bring in a kid. Keep your eye on Yanni Wetzel. This Yanni Wetzel kid, Division II player, comes in 15 points a game down in Division II. Could be a guy that maybe you want to keep your eye on. This is a guy that could be one of those players for you. 6'10", has a lot of size from New Zealand. Real good size, 6'10". He could be kind of a difference for you. They had a kid named Luke Cornett there a couple years ago, played in the league with the Knicks. If he could be that kind of player for them, watch out. Maybe not this year, but Bryce Drew doing his thing. Basketball hires, it's everything, and you're seeing that down at Vanderbilt. Where are we going? Where are we going here? What's up, KG? What's up to everyone out there checking in? I know this show will probably get looked at after the fact. A lot of people will probably watch it and have it kind of stored. But a couple teams that I have my eye on that you should want to get your eye on. Again, I talked about this team. If you listen to the roundtable this morning, had a quick moment where I could mention them. And I'm going to mention them here again, and that's St. Louis. I really like the Billikens coming into the season as far as, again, not only to win that conference, but maybe make some noise in the tournament. This is a team with a lot of talent coming in this year. You look at last year. We're profitable against the number, 18-12. A lot of that, though, was as an underdog. And I'm going to be interested to see how they're graded in the markets as far as numbers. Because here's what you got to know about St. Louis. For many years under Travis Ford, they've lacked a scoring punch. They don't have it. They haven't had it. But you look at what they did in the offseason, you have to be excited about the Billikens. Cartier Gordon is a star there. Jordan Goodwin, Devon Bess. But you look at the transfers. Tremaine Isabella was a terrific player at Delaware. He comes in to give them a scoring punch. Dion Wiley out of Maryland as well. And what you have to love, two things about St. Louis. Defensively, they were top 30 in the country last year. Very good defensively. They're not going to give much up. And you look at this A-10 this year, it's not great. It's not a great conference. St. Bonaventure, they're not going to be really in the mix. Rhode Island lost Danny Hurley. They're not, they're down a little bit this year. You look at Dayton, they're down a bit this year. Some of these big boys that we're familiar with up at the top, Davidson even. Davidson's very good. They're probably the team that I worry about the most just because of Bob McKillop and, the fact that, they have some really good players down at Davidson. But I'm willing to give St. Louis their worth here. I think they're really good. I think defensively that will be the difference for the Billikens. I like them. I think they win this conference. But watch out because there's some really good scoring in this conference. This could be a sneaky over conference. Teams like St. Joe's, they're back healthy again. George Mason, UMass. UMass has one of the best players in this conference in Lawan Pipkins. LaSalle, a very good over team. Richmond, they're always solid defense or offensively. Duquesne has improved. So this could be a valued over conference depending. You're generally going to get numbers in the 140s in this conference, low 140s, 138s, maybe 143. You don't generally see real high numbers unless it's LaSalle. LaSalle's interesting because they have a new coach, Ashley Howard, a Jay Wright disciple coming in. Dr. John was fired. They actually have a decent offensive team. Question is, can they get any stops? Pookie Powell and Tracy Carter will score for this team. It's can they get stops? And that's why, for me, I want to see where they kind of put these numbers with LaSalle because they're going to be a good over team all year. A team out of the big or the SoCo to keep your eye on. SoCo would be your Samford, your Wofford, UNC Greensboro, East Tennessee State, that kind of stuff. I like UNC Greensboro a lot. And I'm not talking about just to be a good ATS team because they're going to be a good ATS team. They are the best team in this conference, and it's not even close. And I got to tell you, you look at last year, 17-10 against the number. They'll be better than that this year. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say they win a tournament game. This Greensboro team is really good. They have a lot of veterans. They bring back 4 or 5 top leading scorers last year. Francis Alonso is a terrific scorer. Wes Miller has done a nice job with bringing in some bigs that can be that kind of conduit for Alonso. Get the ball down to the paint. They were a team that gave up 62.5 points a game last year, and they were very profitable against the spread. They're 5th in the country defensively. That's pretty good. 5th in the country. We all know there's 353 teams, so they were very good defensively. They're going to get after it, and they're going to be a team down in that conference that is going to be very good all season. Don't get me wrong. I like that Spartans team, but now they add in some scoring punch, some veteran leadership to go along with that defense. I think it's going to be a good year for them down there in that conference. Obviously people ask me all the time about where am I going to go this year with overs. Obviously the big, the Summit League, the CAA, those aren't going to change. You look at the CAA, I'm actually licking my lips at the thoughts of overs in this conference because here's the problem in college hoops. And, I talked about this a little on our show at 3:00 on the radio, on Fox Sports Radio. The inability of lines makers in college basketball to move totals when they're being exploited. So like last year, South Dakota State was a big time over team. Yet every game, they're putting their total at like 150 every game. They weren't adjusting to the teams. And that's why I love college hoops because there's so much value in spotting imperfections with their inability to move these numbers. And the CAA was another good one. They weren't ever going to put a total over 158 in this conference. And you look up and down this conference, Hofstra, William and Mary, JMU, Elon, Delaware, even up at the top of Northeastern, they're so good offensively. There's just not a lot of defense played. You look at Northeastern, you look at College of Charleston, the way they run offense, ball screens, a lot of, picks at the top of the key, rolling to the hoop, a lot of easy offense, a lot of fast break. UNC Wilmington, Hofstra, William and Mary, they love to run, and they're really good offensively. William and Mary was so efficient last year. People don't remember how efficient they actually were. Just because, Villanova was historically good offensively, but William and Mary was 85 points a game. They were the best foul shooting team in the country. All that stuff. They're not adjusting to this stuff with the overs. They're just not. And South Dakota State's going to be the same way this year. Buffalo's going to be the same this year. Marshall, Creighton, all these teams. And with the nowadays in college basketball, the reason the totals, and I'm interested to see how they approach these totals this year. Because there's no secret in all sports, scoring is up. And if you look at even in college hoops, the refs have come down and basically said, we're going to call out more fouls. We're not going to, we're going to call fouls late in the game. We want these games extended. We know these kids are going to foul, and kids don't give up in college. They're down 11 with 30 seconds left. They're fouling. That's just points. That's points. It's points. It's not difficult. And I had a couple games last year where in like the last 6 minutes, I needed like 60 points, and I'd get there. Another thing, 3-point percentage. It's very basic and rudimentary, but it's basically thinking like this. Most of these kids nowadays, when you shoot a 2-point layup, it's obviously a much more high percentage shot than a three. But these kids are looking at it like, well, I can get 3 points or 2 points. And nowadays, everyone else is doing it. So why don't I just do it? 3-point percentages are up, 3-point attempts are up, 3-point defense is down. It's amazing, though, how coaches will not teach 3-point defense because it's really as simple as saying threes are more valuable than twos. Why is your 3-point defense not good enough? You have to look at 3-point defense because threes are up, jump shots are up. It's not sexy to sit in the paint and shoot jump shots like from 13 to 15 feet or layup and stuff like that. Kids want to shoot threes. They want to look good. They want to look cool. They want to be that guy shooting the ball, laser. Threes are up. Guards watching the 3-point line, making sure teams are good at defending the 3-point line. And you look at what a surprise. Some of the good teams against the number last year. Cincinnati, UNC Greensboro, Villanova. All those teams top 20 in 3-point defense. In college hoops, the two things you can look at and you can make money are free throw percentage and 3-point defense. You stick with that kind of stuff, you'll make it out. You'll do fine. And there's no secret that a lot of the good teams last year, Villanova, Virginia, Nevada, Kentucky, all these teams, Cincinnati, all these teams, top 25 in 3-point defense. It's basic and rudimentary, but people don't think about it. You have to go. If you're betting against this stuff, you will lose. Let's hit some questions. A lot going here. A lot of things going here. And I'm going to try to hit some stuff here. With Coach Mack going away from Xavier, how do you think both teams are fair? I think Xavier's going to have trouble this year. They are talented, though. I like this roster. But I'm not a big fan of the hire. I don't know a ton about their new coach. And Chris Mack's a hell of a coach. It's just the truth of the matter. Louisville will be fine. They have to fix things though that David Padgett couldn't do. They'll have to fix things that Rick Pitino did do, and that's going to take some time. But Xavier, though, on the surface, I think they're like middle of the pack in this conference. Problem is, this conference is good, and St. John's is better than them, Villanova is better than them, and Marquette's better than them. But I like this team. Here's the problem though: you can't lose guys like McCura and guys like that were so important to your team. But I like this. I like the core. Tyreek Jones, Paul Scruggs, Najee Marshall. I've heard some good things about Kyle Castlin coming in. So there's some things that I do like about this team. But coaching change hurts. Try to answer some questions. Jamison Riley, Oregon in the Pac-12. Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, Oregon is really talented. You could say, the best team was obviously a few years ago with Chris Boucher and Jordan Bell and Dylan Brooks and that crew. But, you look at Dana Altman's team this year. Dana Altman, one of the better coaches in the country. Doesn't get a ton of respect, but what he did at Creighton, what he did here, he's a talented player or a talented coach. You look at this roster, I don't want to say this to sound weird, but I'm obsessed with Bol Bol. I think he's a fascinating player. I think Peyton Pritchard's going to be a really high-level player. I think he's going to do some really good things this year for them. Maybe like a Kyle Guy, Ty Jerome type of player. Ehab Amin, that's a name to keep your eye out for. Ehab Amin will be in everyone's living room by the tournament. Ehab Amin went to Texas Corpus Christi. He was the top player in the country 2 years ago in steals per game. He's got quick hands. He's an Egyptian kid. Went to Texas A&M Corpus Christi, transferred to Nevada. Musselman told him he wouldn't play. They let him go, and he was deciding between different schools, picked Oregon. I think it's a match made in heaven. Ehab Amin. You also brought in Victor Bailey, who I think is going to do some good things for you. Paul White out of Georgetown, and Kenny Wooten. I like this team. Francis Acaro as well. Very good team. It's going to be them in Washington to me. Will Notre Dame be better than expected? I think they'll score a lot of points. I don't think they'll stop many people though. I think they'll be a great over team, and that's normal under Bray. They're very good offensively. Michigan will make you money. Bet your coach and game adjustments. Don't disagree. I think they'll win the Big 12 or Big 10 again. They're extremely talented. What's up, Harold? What's up, Lloyd? Lloyd saying Ryder, Ryder, Ryder. Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with that. Love Ryder. Think they're gonna win the MAC. It's finally good for Kevin Baggett and crew. I think it's finally their two. I think Iona's interesting as always under Tim Cluse, but you look at Ryder, Stevie Jordan, terrific player, real floor general. Demencio Vaughn, those kind of players. I really like Ryder. They should be able to break through. Problem is they haven't been good in the MAC tournament. I would look out for Quinnipiac though as well. Baker Dunleavy doing some good things up there. I like what they're doing. Cameron Young is a really good player, so watch out for them. Canisius was very good against the spread last year. You'd have to figure they'll be valuable again. Teams like Monmouth and Fairfield, they'll be down after losing. Guys like Tyler Nelson. Does Nevada have any value? No. Value is completely gone, and it's actually a slap in the face if you're betting them at this point because they're way too overvalued. I think they're the most overvalued team coming into the season. They've had some really poor exhibition games. They're not playing well in the defensive end. Washington cleaned their clocks a couple weeks ago without Noah Dickerson in some preseason action. Are you concerned that St. Louis underachieved? They look shorthanded midseason. Well, yeah, they didn't have enough scoring. That was the problem. They went out and addressed that, though, bringing in good players. Isabel was a good player for Drexel, and so was Deon Wiley at Maryland. These are high-quality players coming into better environments against better competition. I think that changes a lot. Look out for Cartier Gordon, a guy they brought in from St. Louis in that city. Really good hometown recruiting. As far as my plays, that's actually very relevant on Twitter. I'm going to still do shows. I'm going to have premium plays. Again, guys, I spent a lot of time last year on basketball. It's really just kind of giving back a little bit, really, on all the work I did. We'll come out on top. We'll do well. Rightwager.com is where I do my plays. Welcome back to college basketball. Thank you, iRetro. Appreciate your kind words, pal. Savannah State overs. Yeah, look, I don't disagree with you. The problem is they're not lined very often. You're going to get value, though, early in the season because Savannah State will be running through the gauntlet. And I've talked about this before. Fading the SWAC and MEAC early, a lot of value. So, Savannah's going to play a tough schedule. That's just what they're going to do. All those teams in the MEAC do it. All those teams in the SWAC do it. It's just part of life in those conferences. And that's, again, Savannah is a team that is very good offensively. They shoot a ton of threes. That's just what their game is. What are we doing here? What are we going? A lot of love for Nevada. I think they're real, but I think they're a bit, like I said, overvalued. How will Florida be this year? I think Florida is actually going to be really good. And I think they're a team that, for me, people are kind of forgetting about a little bit. I like Mike White as a coach. I thought last year they really kind of fell off because they didn't have John Egbunu. John Egbunu never came back, and that was hurtful for them because they didn't have that presence inside. You look coming back, I think they're really talented. They'll lose Chris Chioza, which hurts because Chris Chioza was just a great floor general for them. But, Kayvon Allen did some really good things for them last year. They still have a guy like, Kavarius Hayes, who I'm excited about. I like Isaiah Stokes. I like, a guy like Jalen Hudson. He was very good for them. Michael Kuru. The question is, can Gorgie Jacques be that big for them? Because they have some nice size. They have some great guards as well. Keystone and Gorgie Jacques, they're going to be the two names to kind of keep your eye on. But I think they're really talented. They have a great home atmosphere as always. I have them kind of, I don't know, fourth or fifth. I would probably say they're fourth behind Kentucky, Tennessee, and Auburn. I'd put them slightly over LSU. But, what do you say about LSU? Will Wade is just, and again, it's all about hires. You go from Johnny Jones, who had the best player in the country, and Ben Simmons, who couldn't get to the tournament. You get cut it loose, and you bring in Will Wade, and now all of a sudden they're relevant. I mean, Tremaine Waters is a terrific scorer. They're going to be playing with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. They lost Wayne Sims in the offseason. He was murdered. That's going to be something they're going to play hard for, dedicate their season to him. To bring in guys like Naz Reid and Emmett Williams. LSU is really good. The top 5 in the SEC, about as good as you're going to get. About as good as you're going to get. Guys, let me just turn on a light quick. I was a little surprised at it getting dark so quick here. So bear with me 1 second. I get so anymore with the winter, everything gets dark. It gets dark so quick. And I guess I forgot it's 5:30. This is my 5th show today, by the way. 5th. 5. I've done 5 different shows. Talking. I've literally been on the air from, I started at 2, and it's about to be 6, and I've literally been talking for 4 straight hours. So again, I lose track of things. And I got people calling me. I got everything. So yeah, that's my situation right now. Who has the top 3 3-point percentages in the country? Last year, it's actually funny because someone mentioned Savannah State. You would actually think they're actually right up there as far as 3-point field goal percentage. William and Mary was up towards the top, and these are just me going off the top of my head. William and Mary, Marquette, Purdue was up there. Weber State, Wofford. And by the way, all these teams, with the exception of Purdue, should be right back there. Marquette brings back everybody. They actually brought in Joseph Chartunoy, who will be a great player for them. Wofford with Fletcher McGee. St. Mary's will obviously be high on the list. South Dakota State. I'm sure you got to asking me now, who's a team to fade? Who are teams to fade coming into the season? San Jose, I'd have my eye on them. Fordham, they were 7-19 against the number last year, and they lost their best player in Chertunoy. Jeff Neubauer having a really tough time up at the Bronx. They're a bad basketball team. UT Arlington, they'll be a team that was good last year, but not good this year. Fired Scott Cross, lost Eric Neal, lost Kevin Hervey, lost Johnny Hamilton. They lost a ton. Texas Arlington will be down towards the bottom of the Samba. The only problem is Little Rock's even worse. So, watch out, Arlington. They're not the team they were last year. And a team that I'm really low on, Oakland, out of the Horizon League. I'm a big Greg Kampe fan. I've actually been said that once I'm like 50 years old, I'll look like Greg Kampe, the coach at Oakland, which I got to be honest, I don't hate that just because I think he's a really good basketball mind, and I hope to be like half the basketball mind he is. But you look at them, I mean, they bring back 8.6% of their scoring from last year. Under 9% of their scoring last year. It's going to take a large coaching job for him to have Oakland relevant. The problem is they were just so putrid on the defensive end that, in this conference, you have to figure how it's going to get any better. And, last year with all the talent they had, guys, they were 8-22 against the spread. They were the worst ATS team in the country last year. Yes, you got it right, Oakland. Because they were overvalued. They were laying too many points, and they couldn't get stops on defense. And you look at this conference. I mean, Cleveland State's better under Dennis Felton. Green Bay's improving with under Link Darner. UIC's better than they are. Northern Kentucky's better. And then, Wright State with Scott Nagy's crew, they're obviously better. Detroit will improve with Mike Davis coming in there. Oakland just has so many question marks. And unfortunately for Kampe, defense is never really a concern for him. MTSU, they'll be down. Kermit Davis gone. I don't think they're worth any worth. I think they're going to be very bad in that conference. For me, it's all at Western Kentucky, Marshall, those kind of teams. Stay away from MTSU. Kermit Davis was that program. Big East pretty wide open. I don't agree with that. I think it's very standard. Villanova is the favorite, and that's that. Villanova will win the Big East, and why would you bet against them? Oh, because they lost four of their top 5 scorers? Yeah, but, I mean, let's remember who they already had. They also brought in Joe Cremo, who is one of the top players in the mid-majors as far as guards are concerned. You brought in a top recruit in Javon Quinterly. Eric Pascal is, according to people around here, had a terrific summer, and he's going to be a top player in the country this year. Listen, I ain't betting against Jay Wright. You can if you want. St. John's will be in the mix, and I'll tell you what, if Chris Mullen does not make the tournament, he can get his walking papers and get the hell out in Queens because they're not going to put up with that. This is the best team he's had in a long time. And this is the best John's team that we've seen since the Mike Jarvis days. They're really good. And with Mustafa Heron and Shamori Pons, there's not really any room for error here. Seton Hall is a good squad. I don't agree with that at all. I think Seton Hall is down a lot. They lost a lot of talent from last year's team. You lose guys like Desi Rodriguez and a guy like Angel Delgado, who, look, Angel Delgado was the best rebounder in the country last year. You can't just replace guys like that. They have some talent there, but I wouldn't agree with that. They're a good team. I don't think they are. I think they're maybe, I don't know, 9th in that conference. I think the only team better than that, but worse than them is probably DePaul. I don't know. I think you're getting confused with someone else there, Bryant. Jacksonville State will be good. I agree wholeheartedly. Totally agree with that. I love that defensive team bringing back, and they bring back a lot of talent. All right, let's go rapid fire. A lot of questions coming in. I'll try to answer these all. Michigan future, yay or nay? Yes. How good is Oakland? Went over that. They're terrible. Talked about Vandy already. Nevada non-conference underdog role should be good. I'm not so sure. They're very bad on defense. How does the Sun Belt break down this year? Always some good sleepers there. That's a good point. We talked about UT Arlington, and I'll be on for another. Do me a favor, Freddie. Tell me what time we have to be off here in the Skype chat. I'm hoping as long as we have maybe about 5:50. So we have about 15 minutes here. Sun Belt, yes. And guys, I wish I had 3 hours to do this. Unfortunately, I don't. I only have a certain amount of time. But for me, it's all about Georgia State and the Sun Belt. I love Ron Hunter. I mean, what a great coach. I mean, DeMarcus Simmons, terrific player. Okay, very good. I think with them, they bring back a nice core as well. Bring back some high level players. They also bring in a kid named Damon Wilson, who was at Pittsburgh. He's a transfer that I think can make some hay for them. I think Lafayette's a good team. I like Tukey Brown and Ike Smith over Georgia Southern. But what else can you get out of the Eagles? And really everyone else, there's not much to really wet your whistle with. I have to see, a team like Appalachian State's always interesting. Rashawn Shabazz is a really good player. Problem is they don't play any defense there. So for me, it's all about Georgia State and UL Lafayette. I'd probably see Georgia State. There'll be a nice piece of value there. How good is St. Mary's? Well, listen, I mean, it's going to be the same old thing with St. Mary's. It's can they get enough as far as wins are concerned to get into the tournament? Because they're not going to win this conference. They're not going to beat Gonzaga. It's not going to happen. So can they do enough in the out of conference? And look, their conference is pathetic. They'll win a lot of games. But what you have to do with Gonzaga or St. Mary's and Gonzaga is you have to look at their out of conference schedule and do they have enough? Let's look at it. McNeese State, who cares? Utah Valley, who cares? Mexico State, prominent tournament team, but it's not going to move the needle much. Utah State, no one cares. Harvard, no one cares. Irvine, no one cares. Cal, they're one of the worst Power 5 teams in the country. Bethune-Cookman, who cares? New Mexico, decent. LSU, decent. West Kentucky, decent. You have 3 games here. If you can win those 3 games, you have a shot. They're going to have to really do some big things. But unfortunately, Randy Bennett doesn't schedule tough. And Randy Bennett will complain every March that they don't make the tournament because they don't schedule good enough. That's your problem at St. Mary's. I think they're really good. And I think, they can get to the tournament. It wouldn't surprise me at all. I love Jordan Ford. I think he's a terrific player. But is this a typical St. Mary's team? No. I mean, I like Aaron Menzies. He comes in. He's a big player for them. Tanner Krebs. But how good are they? I think they're a NIT team. That's what I think they are. And that has everything to do with the fact that Randy Bennett doesn't schedule correctly. If you want to be a Gonzaga, go be Gonzaga. Go schedule tougher. Go play in tournaments. They don't do that at St. Mary's. And they have no one to blame but themselves. Dalton Leatherwood says Alabama's going to win the SEC in basketball. Well, Dalton, listen, one of your comments about them winning in football, I would agree with. The comment about the basketball side, you have to be kidding me. Are you maybe you're toking back on Grandpa's old cough medicine? Is that what you're doing, Dalton? Down in Alabama, roll Tide. By the way, Dalton, I don't know if you know, but they lost to Jacksonville State an exhibition game. And they actually lost by like 25. So I don't know. Maybe pull back expectations a little bit. Colin Sexton's gone. I don't know if you know that. They also lost Braxton Key, which we've talked about. I like them. I think there's a decent core, but here's the problem, dude. They can't win on the road. They couldn't win on the road last year. Colin Sexton's gone. He's in the NBA now. You got to toke back your expectations a little bit, like you're toking back that weed you're smoking. Are you going to be on SEC unders? Really depends on how you look at them. I don't know. I have to see where the numbers are, but I think there's going to be value in them. Sure. Oh, this is a great question. Great question from Caleb Ford here. I know you don't like Brad Burnell, but what do you think about the Tigers this year? They're returning a lot from a Sweet 16 team. Yeah, you're totally right. But here's the problem with them. Brad Burnell's the coach, and they're in the ACC. I think they're like 8th. They won 25 games last year. But the fact that you missed out on Zion Williamson, because no one wants to play for Brad Burnell, that's why. Brad Burnell's a nice guy. That's about it. Grantham I like Marquise Reed. They don't do a lot for me. They just don't. I think NC State's way better than they are. I think they're better than like Miami, Notre Dame, Louisville. I'd probably rank them like around 9th or 8th. But like they're not anywhere close to like even like Syracuse, who and NC State would have over them, like they're much better than Clemson. They don't do much for me. Football is your best bet. Fordham got worse, big man? Question mark. Yes, they got worse. They lost Chartunoy, who was their only good player from last year. Fordham are terrible. They're really bad. What do you think about Villanova? I think they can repeat. Sure. I think the price is a little low for them, though. I need a bit more. But yeah, I think they're just as good. And look, I'm not gonna bet against them. Kay Felder came out of Oakland. Shout out. Yes, one of their best players ever. He was a terrific player to watch. I'm hoping to get your thoughts on the Atlantic Sun adding North Alabama and Liberty. Does that shake the pecking order up at all? Great question, and I'm welcoming your question because I love the Atlantic Sun. I'm a big fan of this conference, year in and year out. I always enjoy, and I think the pecking order will be moved around a little bit. Sure, why wouldn't it? Florida Gulf Coast isn't as good. Joe Dooley's gone. To me, it goes through Lipscomb. Casey Alexander's a terrific player. Bring back all of his scoring from last year. Garrison Matthews is the best player in this conference. It's not even close. Kenny Cooper's great. Rob Marbury, Eli Pepper. I really like this team, Lipscomb. Question is, can they defend? That's really what you're going to ask about with Lipscomb. And I'll tell you what. To me, if I had to pick a team in this conference other than Lipscomb, it's definitely Liberty. Liberty is, and it's such a great conference because Liberty is the fucking polar opposite of Lipscomb. Pack line defense, defend, scoring defense, stuff like that. Scotty James, Lovell Cabile. I really like this team. They are really good defensively. And that's something we haven't seen in a long time in the Atlantic Sun. And that's why this is an interesting move and a great question by that person that asked that. I think it totally changes the pecking order because you have a team that finally defends in the Atlantic Sun. How many 90 to 97, 94 finals do we need? It's who can establish the tempo they want. It's going to be a great chess match back and forth. And I really hope, and I mean this, I really hope, and I'm actually going to say one better. If we get Liberty and Lipscomb, I will go I will go to the tournament final, whether it's in Virginia or Tennessee. And maybe if it's in Tennessee, Guan White can meet me there. I will be at that tournament final. You have my word on that, and I'll report live from that tournament final. So we're gonna have to wrap it up, I guess. Unfortunately, which sucks. Even though I'm the king of college basketball and I could go for hours. Hopefully we can do this again. Really great questions, guys. Thanks, Walter. Hit the like button. Um, uh, let's 2 more minutes. What about Buffalo? Love Buffalo. I think they win the MAC. K-State. I think they're the second best team in the Big 12. Who's a sleeper outside of the top 25? St. Louis, UNC Greensboro, South Dakota State, UCF, Vanderbilt, um, Pacific will be better. A lot of teams. Do I think Texas Tech, NC State, and Arizona State will make shakeups? Texas Tech will be fine. Chris Beard's a great coach. NC State, I think at like 130, 150 to 1. I think they're a great pick to win the whole thing. They have a ton of talent. Kevin Keats is really talented as a coach. Watch them in the ACC. Arizona State, like them as well. I think they're a sleeper in a Pac-12. If anyone's going to make a run, it's that guard-oriented Hurley team out at Arizona State. Thanks, Sean. Who is your Loyola team this year? Is it Loyola? Yes, it is Loyola. Loyola will be just as good as they were last year. They will make a run. The Loyola, though, this year, I wouldn't knock. It could be Buffalo or West Kentucky. Wofford, like them a lot. Big men waking up with erection. Yes. Well, hey, listen, Jared, I go where the money is. SMU. This is my last one. SMU, I don't like. They cannot defend the three-point line. When they play, it's all about preventing dribble penetration. They do not want you to get in the lane. Their guards aren't long enough or good enough to defend the three-point line. When you see a team that shoots the three ball well against SMU, fade Southern Methodist. Indiana, Romeo Langford, like them a lot. Think they can win the Big Ten. Really like this conference. I like Langford. I think he's a terrific player, and I like Archie Miller a lot as well. When's my next show? I don't know. Maybe later in the week. I don't know. I'll try to do it as much as I can. Everyone, thanks for watching. If you have a pressing question, you can find me on Twitter. DM me. Everyone have a great night. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week as college basketball commences. Bye-bye.